Summit Racing, we're here at the 2025 ISCA Summit Racing Show Car Series, one of the marquee stops on the event tour. Motor City, can't get any better than this. The show hosts just an amazing mix of hot rods, muscle cars, classic cars, mini monster trucks, dune buggies, anything with a motor in it. You're gonna dig it. We're gonna walk the show and we'll show you some cool stuff. Just wall-to-wall amazing cars. This one in particular caught our eye. It doesn't take much for us to fall in love with an early first-gen Mustang, but once you see what's under the hood, want to learn the whole story. So Jerry from Bonafide Customs.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming out.
Beautiful work on the car. Can tell us about it.
All right, yep. So basically, Mike Kidd from Tremec approached me, asked me if I wanted to build a car, Tremec Dream Build. They brought me a 65 Mustang, pulled it straight out of a barn, you know, rusted from front to back.
Most of a 65 Mustang.
Yeah. We literally used the cowl panel and the roof. Everything else was replaced. Every panel on the car has been altered. It's got a 7.3 Godzilla engine in it. We cut the bumpers, sunk them in, custom made hood scoop, flares, ground effects, front and rear, all new interior, custom built rear spoiler.
This is your first time working with the Godzilla?
Yeah, this is the first Godzilla build we've done. We've done some other builds, but this with the first Godzilla. I mean, it's got almost, 450 horse or close to, and 700 foot-pounds of torque. You know, and it's matched up with Tremec TKX, so it should really put the rubber to the ground when we're ready to go. This is all a one-off car. There's no bolts holding the fenders on. It's all welded on. There's no seams. All the ground effects, fender flares, everything's made of metal. We put a Cobra fuel inlet in there and pretty much altered every panel.
Great to see it at the Tremec booth at the 2025 Detroit Autorama Summit Racing. Well, let's see what else we can find. Obviously, I'm gonna stop at an AMC Concord wagon because I'm an AMC nerd, but man, when I found out what was under the hood, I had to track down the owner and get the story. The owner, Frank, tell us about this car. Where did you get this wagon and when did it go through its transformation?
Bought it in February of 1982 at Village Jeep in Birmingham. Me and my wife went to Vegas in '97 and I really liked the car. We rented it and they had one for sale in '81 and I bought it. 4-cylinder Iron Duke, 3-speed, manual, no radio, no air, but I liked it anyways. I bought the wheels and the mags, and then the car wasn't fast enough for the wheels, so I had to get the engine to make it fast.
And you're running a late version of the 302 5-liter, right?
89.
Okay, 89, and it's from the Mustang?
Yes.
Right on.
Fox body Mustang.
Tell us about how much work was it to put in there?
Me and my nephew spent like 3 months doing it. He did most of the work, put it in the harness, the alternator, had to make new motor mounts. The bell housing fit from my old car on it, so that was good.
Hey, Summit Racing 2025 Detroit Autorama. What a great story to hear, Frank. Let's see what else we can find. Summit Racing here at the 2025 Detroit Autorama, surrounded by classic cars, hot rods, muscle cars, but in the midst of it all, I came across this stunning CJ3B owned by Mike and Josh. Mike, Josh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Paul.
Can you tell us about the car? Tell us about the Jeep.
This Jeep, we found it in Wolverine, Michigan at a hunting camp. Me and my son Josh here, we went up there in a snowstorm and had to winch it out of the woods. It had no brakes, it had vice grips on the brake lines. It was spray painted with a rattle can, the color green. And as we got it back and started to take it apart, we found out it was originally red from paint underneath the dashboard. Probably a good 4 years and a lot of money. You know, as we got money, we would work on it. And then we entered it into the Autorama, and the Summit's been so great to us over the years, and this is our #1 place to be with it. Here it is.
Well, one of the things I noticed, and true Jeep CJ aficionados would notice, that this is the high hood 3B, correct?
Yes, sir.
But there's something very special about it. Tell us.
Yes, this was the changeover year from the 3A to the 3B. and it was originally changed over on the body to be an overhead valve motor. That's why the hood is taller. This was the changeover year, and they were using up leftover parts. This Jeep was made in Toledo, Ohio, right down the road here. This actually has a flathead motor in it. It's a go double motor, so they were using up the last of the inventory as they were changing over. Extremely rare.
We're glad you brought it out. We're glad to see Jeeps of any vintage, but specifically yours is stunning. We've got plenty more stuff to find out at the 2025 Detroit Autorama. We'll see what else we can find. Stick around. Summit Racing, we're at the 2025 Detroit Autorama, just surrounded by an incredible mix of cars from all over the world, and no better example in my mind is a Datsun 510 wagon from the Nissan Datsun company. We had to circle in for a closer look. Chris, thank you for bringing it out. Tell us about this car.
Yeah, so I've owned this for about 8 years now. My father and I have been working on it. We've got a swap out of a 98 Silvia from Japan, so it's an SR20.
Yeah.
So it makes about 200 horsepower, with custom header and exhaust. And then that's connected to a rear end from a 84 Mazda RX-7 with an LSD, so limited slip differential. So we had to narrow that about an inch to get it to fit.
Yeah, and from what I understand, Datsun's kind of running your family.
Yeah. So in the early 70s, he had a race team called Dimension Racing. So he had raced 510s in the B Sedan series, Trans Am, and then up in Canada. The two-door was great. They're also a little harder to find, a little more expensive, so we were lucked out in finding a wagon actually here in Detroit. So we'd go out in cruises, and eventually I'm going to go out and auto track it and have some fun with it because it's pretty fast and it's pretty light. So,
what was the most challenging part of the build?
I think figuring out what we want to do with the interior, and then the dashboard turned out to be a little bit more of a headache than we thought.
And the interior you just finished up, right?
Correct, yep. So we had Paul's Auto Interior in Pontiac here, helped out with the trim.
Cool. And that's a wrap from the 2025 Detroit Autorama. 3 incredible days of hot rods, muscle cars, speedboats, motorcycles, pretty much everything a gearhead would want, all compressed into a weekend. Man, it's one of the best events on the ISCA Summit Racing Show Car Series calendar. We can't miss it. Thanks for watching Summit Racing from the 2025 Detroit Autorama. See you next time.